New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev BRZ and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And hello again, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And this is Ministers Talking Shit. It's Friday morning, 7 a.m. on the Mountain Time Zone. So grateful you're with us. Thanks for being a part of what we're doing here on the network. And Z, we kind of struck on it at the very end of our warm up there. So I want to ask the people out in the country. I want to ask anybody that might be watching this at any point in time, how in the world do we give a Nobel Peace Prize or even consider it? Because that's all that's happening. Nobody's awarded this yet. But no, my understanding, what I see in reporting is that Donald Trump is rather upset that he has not already been given a peace prize, and now thinks he deserves one for Iran and Israel, and even up to the point where who did I say? I saw the name. They've gotten I don't even know this guy. Buddy Carter out of Georgia. Who's Buddy Carter out of Georgia? I don't know. Representative Buddy Carter out of Georgia has nominated Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize for his part in bringing peace to the Israel-Iran conflict. Didn't we just bomb them?
Yeah. That obliterated everything.
Yeah. And that gets you a nomination for a peace prize.
Oh, man.
Bomb them into peace.
Well, it's so, I saw something yesterday, he's been using, and Pete Hegseth's been using this thing that supposedly Donald Trump invented about strength through power, or whatever the stupid saying is.
Yeah.
And really, it was Ronald Reagan who said it first. And they showed a clip of him saying it, but yet now he's invented it, right? And to me, it just goes to show that this whole administration thus far and all the major players are just like actors in a movie. They think they're in a movie and they're just acting. And they're not concerned with facts, it appears, or whether it's damning stuff that happens. It's just, look, we got a movie, it's a B movie, and we're starring in it, and we're gonna make the best of it.
And yeah, this is what my lines say I'm supposed to say. And as you were saying that, I'm reflecting because around our house, we've started a little joke. People ask me, because I'm the one in the house that pays attention to the news and what's going on. It's kind of, and they stay away from it unless I think it's something they need to hear. So the other night, somebody at the table said, so what did Trump do today? I said, he lied. And they said, no, what did he do? I said, he lied. That's all he did. He didn't do anything else. He didn't do anything. He just lies. right? And the man's natural default is to lie. In this case, and I would think this is probably prevalent with most habitual liars. They surround themselves with other habitual liars, and the whole game is just lies, lies, and more lies, liars and liars, and liars and layers of liars, because you've got Hegseth, you've got Carolyn Levitt, who every time she opens her mouth, I just think to myself, can somebody please put something intelligent in there? And I made the mistake yesterday. I don't know why. I saw something come up. It was a live press briefing with the Department of State. So I figured I would tune in and see what they had to say. And to me, it was all nothing more than lies.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it now 6 days after the bombing, they're still trying to determine, or it's still unclear, if the big old bomb worked, right? And if they retaliate, I mean, if they destroyed as much as they say they did. Now, and here's another thing to me that just confirms that this is a movie that they've scripted. So Iran is going to bomb the military base over there of the U.S. And then they call Trump and tell him, yeah, we're going to bomb your base, right? So it gives them a chance to move everything. And Trump, yeah, they were nice enough to call us and tell us they were going to bomb us. I'm like, in war, who calls you and tell you we're going to bomb you? So, make sure we don't really do no real damage. It's theatrical. I mean, all of this is staged. Now they're trying to give them $3 billion. They're trying to create some program to do electricity or power grid for them. And I'm like, I don't know. It's all a script. It's all a plan. And everybody's a bit part. And people's lives are being destroyed by this. And mainly it appears on both sides, whether it's what's going on in Palestine or what's going on in Iraq or what's going on in this country, it's women and children that are getting the brunt of all of this. As of yesterday, Trump has, I was reminded that Trump had this plan that we need to have more babies in this country because we're running short of people. Now, all this chaos that's going on all over the world, we're killing women and children and decimating women and children, but we need more babies? Really?
Well,
Stop killing them.
We need more white babies. We need, and that was the headline I saw. It was specific why white women need to have more babies, right? And it was, maybe that was somebody else's attack against that, but like, I'm sure Trump would love, more white babies. I saw a story, 64-year-old Iranian woman who has lived in the States for over 47 years. So she's been living here for 47 years. She's 64 years old. That's most of the absolute majority of her life. Picked up and detained by ICE this week because of when she first came here. She was brought here, and then there was a request for political asylum, but that was denied. But they let her stay here anyway, so long as she didn't break any laws or get in any trouble, which to the best of our knowledge, she hasn't, and yada, yada, yada. So there were all these stipulations. She fell in love. She tried to get married to someone. However, that was deemed illegal because of a previous marriage that we determined was a false marriage and just something she was trying to do to get a citizenship. So they denied her second marriage as an avenue of citizenship. And so she's still technically overstayed her visa and is there technically an illegal alien, and at 64 years old, they pick her up out of her garden and take her to detention. Now, where the frick are we gonna deport that woman to?
Right.
We're gonna send that woman to Iran? What? We're gonna send her, and now the Supreme Court appears to be signaling that they're going to allow Trump to deport believed criminals to third countries.
Right.
Right. To third-party countries. How does deporting a 64-year-old woman make America great or protect it again? They also grabbed a couple of LSU students, young Iranian students, that out of their dorm in LSU. Now, if you're afraid of sleeper cells and what Iran could do in America because of all this, number one, how about we trust our intelligence agencies? I would think they would at least have an idea if we've got some sleeper cells. And if a 64-year-old woman is a sleeper cell for Iran, then shit, I'll go sign up for the army.
It really is a comedy show. And this whole thing, I mean,
I never did like dark comedy though, man. I don't like no.
Because I'm thinking, what administration? I mean, the Caroline Leavitt's woman, that's the press. I can't even think of her. She goes and defends President Trump for making a statement to throw a CNN reporter throw her out like a dog. Yeah. Now, this is the president of the United States telling a reporter or making a statement that a reporter should be thrown out like a dog. There's no articulation of dismiss her. She can't be admitted or he can't be admitted. I didn't know it was a male or female. But the throw out like a dog part is what stuck with me.
Yeah.
And that is happening at every level. So how do we know what's really happening? Who is really making the decisions? He made this whole statement at NATO the other day that was just rambling, bumbling, nothing. There was nothing intelligent that came out of that.
And then the guy says, "Thank you, Daddy," for right, however he phrases it. I watched the video of that. Trump's eyes light up. He sits up a little straighter. You can feel that he's kind of like pulling in those butt cheeks to. Ooh, he just called me Daddy. You knew he loved it.
I don't know. It seems to be a bunch of smoke and mirrors with all the money grabbers around the world, no matter who you are, no matter what country you are, no matter what language you speak. The people that have money, it appears, I'm not saying it's true, but it appears that they're orchestrating things and they're creating these things for them and theirs, whoever that is, to get more money, more power, more access, while and create these farces that everybody else is going to benefit. Now, of course, some people are going to benefit, right? But the global economy, the global climate, the global politics are going to be rattled for a while.
Yeah. It's interesting because as we did this, I just kind of refreshed myself a little in I'm getting somewhere here, I promise you, because we have something else we might need to look at. I haven't looked at it yet, but I trust it. So anyway, point being, we kind of are living in the age of Big Brother.
Yes.
I just threw in the prompt. What are the primary lies, yada yada, about Big Brother? But constant surveillance, fabricated news and history, newspeak, the development of newspeak, limit the words we're allowed to use. We talked about that on this program. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength, manufacturing wars, creating false heroes and villains. It's all here. There is a playbook happening. Like somebody, and I think that's part of my personal upset in all of this, is that it feels to me like there's a vast portion of our population that is more than intelligent enough to see this, to understand what's happening, and they're either sitting it out or they're Democrats and they're afraid to lose their seat or something, and they're keeping their mouth shut. Democrats to me are just like a bunch of impotent little people right now that yelling a lot but not doing much. And I think we need, and I don't know exactly what it is that they can do or could do or must do, but as people, we have to be willing to stand and say no when they're gaslighting us. We have to be willing to stand up and say, no, that's not how this really happens. You don't really get a Nobel Peace Prize because you bombed the shit out of a country. That's not how we get to peace. And I really want to see, I want us to start a movement. I want us to start a campaign that no prizes for Trump. No. My biggest prayer right now is that the Nobel Prize Committee completely snubs him for the rest of his life, that he never sees a prize in that regard. We've got to start doing something, because doing nothing, I haven't wanted to look at the 2025 tracker because I'm afraid of what it says.
Yeah, I trust that we have enough people that are concerned, that pay attention, to begin to at least tell their neighbor and tell their family members that things are happening behind the scene, and it's all benefiting those in power, it appears, whether they're the traditional Democrat or the Republican. Those guys don't want to give up that power. They don't want to give up that privilege. They don't want to give up that money. And what's going to be interesting to see is how the populace responds and acts to this election for mayor in New York.
Yeah.
That a Muslim candidate has won as a democratic socialist. Now we're going to see what the political process is made of, right? They brought Cuomo back, who they just a few years ago condemned, said he was unfit for everything. Yet they backed him in this race. A lot of them did, and now he's lost, so he's going to run as an independent. Eric Adams is already throwing bombs at Moron. I think I pronounced his name. And it's just ludicrous.
They're
complete lunacy.
Yes. Complete obliteration.
Yeah, well, everything he does.
It causes complete obliteration is something. And I to me, I want there to be other topics to talk about, and we could talk about the good stuff that's going on in the world, but that's a different program. The good news is at 5:00 tonight, folks. I've written about this. Many of us in the New Thought movement have been talking about this. It does no one any good to bury our head in the sands and pretend these things don't exist. Because what we're witnessing is an outpicturing of collective consciousness. Mm-hmm. We are witnessing the collective consciousness of the United States demonstrated through our political system and demonstrated through our politicians. And some states and districts have a what I would call a more evolved or progressive, perhaps we can use that word. It might get us in trouble, but a more progressive consciousness around how we govern ourselves and support each other and serve each other. And some districts and politicians have a much more limited view of, well, let me get mine, and then maybe I'll give you a little.
Yeah.
And I still I can't understand how Eric Trump can speak to the Financial Times and say that the Trump family is not making money during this presidency. You just tried to con us with a phone deal. You've launched 2 different crypto coins that you're using to make money. You're making money hand over fist, and that's just what we know about. Come on. How many backroom deals are going on right now between the Trump International Organization at the hands of Eric and Junior that, maybe Donald doesn't know about, but there's, and I'll doubt that forever, but there's deals going down. This family didn't build themselves on the art of the deal. But
yeah. Well, and that's the crux of the matter to me, is that in the back rooms, people who appear to be ardent enemies, in the back room, something else is going on.
Yeah.
And it's not with everybody, let's be clear. But there are those who are so tangled up in the power, prestige, money, and privilege that they will do anything to keep that and pass it to their families. And so, at what point, there's this conversation I've seen going around on the internet about what would happen, or how much money, if we took all the money and distributed it evenly across the planet. I don't know. I don't know if it was just the planet or US. But even if it was just the US, they said each couple would have a couple of $1 million. A family of 4 would have like $2.5 million or something like that. That could change people's lives forever.
Yeah. Yep. And Jeff Bezos had to.
I wouldn't. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and Jeff Bezos skips out of the U.S. to go get married in Venice, and not huge protests, but consistent protesting of the insane amount of money that is being wasted in some of these ways that. David Alexander's writing a series on Substack that I'm liking so far. And I think it's something I want to get on with and remember. There is no lack of money in this world. What there is a false belief that's been levied, promoted, and kept alive that poverty is part of the natural suffering of life.
Mm-hmm.
And that And we have to come to that point of remembering there really is more than enough for everybody to have a couple mil and be able to do what they want to do. And think about it. If people weren't scrapping for food, if people aren't scrapping for a place to live, if people aren't scrapping and fighting all day long just to get by, imagine the pent-up creativity and ability that there is there. That when people are given opportunity, we get creative. When given the leisure, if you will, to work beyond a traditional monetary system, there is so much available to the human race.
Yeah.
We'll be going to Mars in no time, not because of money, but because of, it'd be fun, not because we're trying to escape. Although I did see that one today, and now there's a theory that the real reason Elon wants to go to Mars is to escape the AI. To start a planet that doesn't have AI. How do you think you're going to get there? How are we going to get there without the AI? If we need the AI to get us there, then, well, the AI will be there when we get there, because we ain't getting there without it that I see. They haven't had a good run at Starlink in a while. They keep blowing up rockets. I hope they're learning something.
And I tell you, it's stuff like that you really can understand why people say, I'm going to sit this one out. I'm not going to watch this stuff, not going to listen to this stuff, because how do you decipher with all of the madness? How do you decipher, like we've said numerous times, we're in a post-truth world. How do you decide or decipher what is true or not? How do you, make moves or make decisions on something that you don't know is true or not? And it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at Kennedy now with the Health and Human Services, and they doing the vaccine. That's going to the court to figure out all of that madness. I mean, they are attacking every system, every organization. They're throwing away data that we have proven to, even if it's 80% true, that is 80% true, that will help people's health and well-being, and they're throwing it all out of the window and starting from scratch. I'd rather have an 80-20 rule than a 0-0 rule.
Yeah.
It's frightening. It really is. And we have to begin and continue, for those that are, to have a spiritual impact, a spiritual outlook, a spiritual approach to help alleviating this, this utter madness, if you will.
Right. Well, and that's the point. Right. Folks, we always come back to it. Don't worry, no matter how ugly it might get, we remember the truth. Where can you go for truth? Right here, I believe. Spiritual truth. Where can you go for political truth? Well, that might not actually exist. But what we know is there is a higher truth. There is, we are divine expressions of the one. We are unique and creative beings. And I have wondered recently, Z, if we shouldn't just, like, all of us unplug and voluntarily unplug from everything, and let's go back to some farming and some, everybody buy a farm. Let's go back. And you want to make America great again? Cool. Let's go back, way back. Let's go back to, and pull out our oil lamps and our pencils and our paper and get back to wearing some spun cloth maybe, and do the Gandhi thing. And it feels like we would be missing out to me to just recuse ourselves from where the world is. I think that New Thought has a lot more to say and a greater voice to play in the future of where we're going as humanity. But that's not going to be the role for everyone. And, but so I think it's now more than important than ever to continue to speak the word, to continue to stand up, and whether that's through marches or whether that's through our vote, whether that's through our writing, whether that's through our just our prayer work and our meditation work, to not give up, but to stay in the arena.
Yeah, I mean, we can give up the fight, if you will, and just take whatever they give us or take whatever we get. And if that's what we do, then I would suggest don't complain, don't do any of that kind of stuff. Just if you want to just take it, then just take it. Or you can take a stand against this. Because in my mind, I've said it 2-3 times. I'm going to say it again this morning. The idea of having power, privilege, prestige, and money is a powerful, powerful drug. I mean, I just saw something there that 50 Cent, the rapper, is offering Zoran some money to lead the state. You know, I don't know what he mean. He offered him $285,000 to lead the state. At least that's what this headline's saying, because he's afraid of taxes. I mean, dude, you got enough money, you can pay a little more taxes. All these people can pay a little more taxes. Now, right. What they do with the taxes in the government, how they distribute, you know, we the challenge is two ways. People giving up the money, but then those legislators we put in office that help distribute and utilize that tax money. It has to be, we got to find a better way. I mean, it just came out yesterday that Social Security come 2032 or 2033 will be in trouble, and then that they may have to reduce Social Security payments by I think it was 30%. So if you get, it was say, gave an example, if you're getting $2,000 a month, you will now only be getting $1,500 and change. That will be a big deal in somebody's life. Right. A senior citizen who's on fixed income that you just took $450 away from them. But we can spend billions on things that I won't say they're not needed, but are they relevant given the situation that we're in?
Well, I think we probably spent a whole ton of money dropping a whole ton of ordinances on a country that we didn't need to bomb, and we're ineffective in that as well. Intelligence reports are starting to indicate that not only were we tipped off that Iran was going to hit Qatar, our bases in Qatar, but it would appear Iran was tipped off by, I'll make a decision in a couple weeks, that Iran was tipped off that maybe something was coming and we might want to move our most important stuff. And it would appear that they most likely did that.
Yeah,
It seems like we're still in the smoke and
mirrors. Fast is needed.
Here's one. I think we're still in the smoke and mirrors phase, because here's a story that's sort of just emerging. GE has announced that it's going to move. GE Appliances has announced that it's going to move from China to Kentucky, one of their major production plants for washers and dryers. Sounds like a win, right? Sounds like, hey, here's the catch. They're not investing in people. They're investing in robots. They're going to spend $490 million to build a robotic production facility in Kentucky. Will it provide jobs? Yes. Will it provide unskilled labor? Not so much. Will it bolster the economy for a little bit as they build this facility? Yes. Does it have long-lasting financial benefit for Kentucky? Not necessarily. I believe, and I would like to see us start investing in people again. I would like us to find ways to, I've been kind of doing this myself. Here's an easy way. I value people, so I will wait in line at the supermarket to speak with a cashier, to run my groceries across the belt, and to make sure it's not a glamorous job, but I'd rather have some person doing that job than a robot, because if we keep giving the jobs to the robots, we're going to end up with more people that really need that $2 million disbursement that we've got to figure out. So,
well, yeah, because you think you just maybe think like it's at the grocery store. Like you go to any grocery store, there's going to be at least 6 to 8 self checkouts.
yep.
That's normally manned by one person, right?
Yep.
So at the low end, that got rid of 4 jobs. 4 people that used to be able to do what 8 self-service things do are now out of work. And it's because you save 10 minutes?
Not even. There have been times where I go through and say hi to the cashier, and I'm tied with the people that were waiting in line for the self-checkout. Right? And this is just one of those things, folks, right? I want to encourage you, find your own. Find a way to demonstrate, to prove to the world that you value people over profit. That you value the people in our lives, and not just those that we love, not just those we're related to, not just those that live in the same house, but that we put value on people's lives before we put value on people as a product or as if we give all the jobs to the robots, then the people don't have the jobs, so who's going to buy the product? Well, the purpose of the economy is to create product. It isn't to support people. The economy isn't here to support people. The way we look at the economy is to create product and to create wealth for the few, and to centralize that wealth in the upper regions of our society, in the upper classes, let's say. And I want to bring value back to the people, back to valuing people. Everybody.
Yeah. I think that we are still, I say it like that, we are still a vital part of this cosmos, right? We are still a part of the nuts and bolts that makes things work. That includes fixing the robot if they break. And so, I mean, I'm all for AI and robots where it makes sense and where it makes, because they have the ability for everybody to live a up level in the quality of life. They can take away some of the dangerous jobs and some of the things of that nature and give people a better quality of living. But if it's just going to be to get people out of work so I can make more money, then it will wind up being a disaster at some point.
We've got to find ways to make sure those folks being displaced in these, and this thing with GE is different because it's not displacing anybody because they don't have an infrastructure there to begin with. But we've got to find a way to make sure that those profits end up in the hands of people as well, that the money is a little more evenly distributed so that people can be involved in the arts and in creativity and creating rather than just sustaining. I do want to, we want to give Linda a shout out too, right? That it is the season for farmers markets. It is, I think it's the season to get back a little bit to our roots, to shop local, but think global. It's an old phrase now, but it's something we've kind of lost a little of. Shop local, but think global as well.
Yeah, and that you just made me think about, and Linda brought it home too, on like, you think about the distribution of products in this country or any country, and truck drivers, right? We just take truck drivers.
Yep.
How many individuals will be displaced once they solidify self-driving autos to deliver those payloads, those products, those fruits and vegetables, those cars, right?
Yep.
That's it'll improve the distribution maybe, but it's going to displace a lot of other people. And what are we developing? How are we creating new avenues for those individuals that get displaced to have a livelihood?
Yeah.
I mean, right now they have these. I haven't seen them. I've heard a lot of talk about them. In San Francisco, they have a lot of self-driving taxis.
The Waymos, yeah.
And people saying they're enjoying it or whatever. That's going to put a lot of Uber drivers and Lyft drivers and cab drivers out of work.
Yep. I was in the Phoenix area earlier this year, and went to lunch with a couple of friends in a mall type area, and I didn't know where I was, yada yada. But it comes to I later found out it was a fairly high end mall area, and there were several malls all kind of pushed up against each other, and some of them looked more like little villages. And we sat at lunch, and then we sat there for at least an hour or so after lunch, just hanging out and talking. We sat there for a couple hours, and there was a self-driving Waymo taxi circling the area, completely empty. I never once saw anybody in the thing. It was just, I don't know what its circuit was, because it wasn't like it was every 5 minutes. It was like, oh, there it goes again. Nobody's in it. Oh, there it goes that way. Nobody's in it. And they got numbers on it. So we started checking. It's like, yeah, I think it's the same car. If not, there might be a few, but they all seemed empty. There was nobody in them. They're just driving around with nobody. I don't know, but that sounds like a whole nother show, folks. And we are just about out of time, so we'll investigate the Waymo phenomenon in the future. Ultimately, I think that get out, get involved, do what is yours to do, but we're here to keep on keeping on. Z, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, get involved. Read more, have discussions more, write letters, get involved. However it is we have to raise the consciousness. This new thought stuff is about raising conscious. And we need to begin to do that on all levels, not just on the spiritual things. We know that's the foundation, that everything is connected. There's one energy, one power. But we need to be informed about all the things that come out of that energy: politics, art, culture, food, distribution. Get involved, get involved, get involved.
Get involved. There we go. And hey, folks, if you want, you can be involved with New Thought Media Network throughout the day. All of our regular programming, morning prayer start at 8:15. Rev Melissa with the morning sip at 8:30. 9:30, it's Viviendo de Oración, Living in Prayer, 9:30 prayer time. The High Vibe Hour with Rev Skip and Cynthia Breeze is at 11. Just One You with Reverend Barbara is at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. Divine Science Everywhere at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. The Good News at 5, and the Friday Fireside Chat with Reverend Michael is at 6 o'clock. So we've got a full day of programming in store. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for being a part of what we're doing. Until next time, we wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.